Welcome to the Squeeze with Tony Pasquazi. It's just me here, Tony, talking to assistant coach of your women's volleyball team, Kylee Zumach. Kylee, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, very excited. You're the first coach that we've talked to here in this 2021-2022 academic athletic school year. And this is your third year with St. Mary's? Third year, if we can count last year.
Yeah.
But I guess let's start there. A lot of turnover from last year, that COVID shortened year, to this year, 9 new freshmen. What did you learn? What did the team learn from last season that have gotten you to this point now in the heat of conference play in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, a number of things. First of all, not athletically related, kind of just anything could happen to any MIAC team at any time. I mean, even this year, there's been crazy upsets left and right. But last year, I mean, we've had a couple of upsets. I mean, no one's truly safe in the MIAC. I don't think in volleyball, there's hardly any teams that go undefeated in our conference play. So just one going into every match, attacking it, like it could be anyone's night, show up and we have a good shot. That and we've always been known for our solid back row game. We can keep the ball off the floor just about as good as anyone in our conference and in the Midwest. So of course, thanks to like Hannah and Grace and DJ, they do a great job at doing that. But our serving and passing keeps us in games and makes us pretty successful. So just how important our serving and passing is. We kind of really fell into that role last year, and we've been continuing to bring that onto the court this year as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have learned a lot. The record may make sense for a team that's made up of 9 freshmen, a couple returners, a couple key pieces, but for the most part, very unexperienced team. 5-12. Are you disappointed in that record, or are there some bad losses hidden in there? Or just give us kind of a recap of the season to this point, because we haven't been able to see you at St. Mary's Gymnasium just yet.
Yeah. So being the competitor as I am, yes, any loss will make me kind of upset. I'd say about 2 or 3 in there are ones we could have taken out, but this has easily been the toughest non-conference schedule since I've been here that our team has had to face. That 1-2 half our team is, like you said, freshmen. 3, we only have 3 returning front row players, and 2 of them are sophomores.
Wow.
They've never had a regular season without COVID, right? So this year, again, is even new for our 2 returning offensive girls, which is Braden and Key, who also coincidentally are leading our team in kills right now. This is their first real college season as well. So it's just been a huge learning curve for us, and seeing what's been working, what we need to work on. And like I told you before we started, we've had quite a few injuries this year. So we've only had a handful of games where we've had our starters out there going nonstop. Hopefully tomorrow that'll change. I think it will. We'll have everyone back to health for the most part. But it's just been a year of learning for us so far.
Yeah, you mentioned tomorrow, the first time that we see you with fans in close to 700 days, something like that. I got to see you last year. I was very thankful to watch you in person. But what can we expect out of another new thing here this season, Saint Scholastica in the conference? What can we expect from the Saints?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a game full of really stellar back row players. It's going to be hard to find the ground for both teams. Their liberos, very solid. Our liberos, one of the best in the conference as well. So long rallies. I'm excited to get our girls out there in front of our crowd, because it's kind of like a 7th player for us since my very first year here. We've actually had really great turnouts at our home games, which is awesome to see at this level. So I'm excited for them to get that feeling in there, but I'd expect a lot of long rallies and fun defensive plays.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of a 7th player out there the crowd will be. Last year during COVID, there was no crowd. So you kind of had to provide your own cheering section. And I've got a few names I think that stick out as the best cheerleaders on the team. But who do you think brings the spirit more than anybody else on your squad?
Elise Amarangan. one, always number one, has been number one since freshman year, and she stepped up into a big role this year. She's our starting right side, so she's bringing that onto the court. I think Larkin Clem's been really big in that too. We're running a 6-2 this year, so she is also on the court. Who else? I'm trying to think of loud freshmen. Bella Stein is a freshman from Prior Lake. She won't shut up, which I love. She's loud. So, we're getting a lot of voices in there. On top of a packed gym this year, I'm excited to see how we perform.
Yeah, and I mean, you are pretty loud yourself there.
Oh yeah, same. Never had an issue with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I talked to DJ about a while ago now. It was maybe a month ago. You were once a D1 volleyball player, which is awesome that you are now sharing that knowledge with Division III athletes. And there's definitely a difference. I'm sure you could preach to that more than I could, because I've never been a D1 athlete, and now you are working with Division III athletes. So, what are those differences that you've noticed being on now both sides of the coin?
Yeah. So just off the top, this is probably obvious, but size, I'd say to anyone who asks me that question, size is the big difference. I mean, we have girls on our team, they were 4 or 5 inches taller, they'd be playing at a higher level. I mean, it's just a God-given ability being 6'3". So size is the big one. Intensity sometimes, I mean, I got paid to play. I got a scholarship. So it's like, okay, I got to do well. They're paying for me to be here. And then at D3, they're playing because they love the sport. I think the learning curve's different too. A lot of people that I played with played at huge clubs their whole life. And we get a lot of people who just played high school who are incredible athletes, which I love because I get to share a lot of knowledge with them. So we have good volleyball players who can have a very broad horizon of learning. So I think, size, volleyball IQ, and just how many months out of the year that they play is really the main difference.
Yeah, and you always hear about, from us specifically, washed up D3 athlete, and then Frankie, who is a current thrower on the track team, the balance of homework and lifting and practice and actually competing, having some fun, that's a whole different level on division. Yeah. So maybe talk to us a little bit about that, just how much more work it is on a D1 level, or maybe it isn't, I don't know.
No, it is, but I always say I had a lot more help. We had academic advisors just for volleyball.
Wow.
Like our football team would have 4 advisors just for football. So they plan out your classes for you. And they make sure it doesn't go into practice time, because here coaches have to base practices on when it works for people's class. When I played, we had to pick classes that fit around practice time. But we had people to help us do that. So, and we had required study tables 5 nights a week. We had, someone always there. I mean, it was a lot more structured. Yes, I'm going to say I probably had a lot less free time, but it was structured and I was successful because I had a lot of people to help me. So I think that was the main difference. My 5th year, because I tore my ACL, so I was in school for 5 years. My 5th year, I was in grad school and I had an internship and I was playing. I was like, could not breathe. But, it is doable, but you just kind of lose more free time. I think that's the big difference.
Yeah. And, you being an athlete, I know a lot of my teammates are now getting into coaching. They're going to grad school. They want to be a track coach for the rest of their life. When did you know that you wanted to be a coach, and is being a coach what you want to do for the rest of your life?
Good question. I'll answer the part I know first. Yes, I do want to coach forever. I love it. I think it's the perfect job for me. I kind of wanted to be a teacher when I was younger, but then I'm like, I can't give up volleyball. So now I get to teach volleyball every day. I love this level too. I think D3 is a great level for me, just because the girls I get to coach every day just love the game. But knowing I wanted to coach, I got to school, I got to K-State, And I think my third semester, my head coach looked at me and she's like, "You're going to be a coach." And I was like, "Don't say that. My mom's a coach." Because my mom is
Oh,
a coach too. And I was like, I'm nothing like my mom. So I think other people saw it in me first, but I knew by my 5th year, I'm like, okay, this is something I want to do. I'm very passionate about the game. And my parents actually met playing volleyball. So I come from a volleyball family, a lot of volleyball players. So my IQ is pretty high for being a 25-year-old. So I think everyone around me knew, like, yeah, she's going to coach. And it just took me a minute to catch up. But I've known I wanted to do this for quite some time now.
and I mean, your sister plays Division I volleyball as well, so clearly volleyball
Yeah.
runs in the veins. Uh, did your parents coach you at all?
Yes, my mom coached me in volleyball. I got pulled up to varsity my 8th grade year because that's a thing in Minnesota, and I went to a small high school. She coached me 8th and 9th grade, and then it was not working. So 10th grade, she took it off. And then that coach ended up not staying. So she came back my junior and senior year. She's very intense. But she did coach me. And then my dad coached me in basketball when I played when I was younger. So I had lots of coaches.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely tough having parents as coaches. It just
Yeah.
the torment never ends.
Yeah.
But that actually brings me to another question. You mentioned Minnesota, but you ended up in K-State, and your sister is also playing out of state. So that recruitment process, I'm sure, was stressful, and maybe we'll get into that in a second. But I think again, my question is pitting the two against one another. Here at St. Mary's, we recruit Minnesota and Wisconsin, and that's pretty much it. But of course, the soccer teams are recruiting from different countries and they're recruiting
Yeah.
from the West Coast. So, maybe as you develop your coaching philosophy and hopefully one day you get a head coaching job, and if it's on the D3 level, the D1 level, what's your recruiting philosophy going to be? Stay home, stay close to home, or really spread the country and try to find the best talent everywhere?
I mean, if I don't think it'll happen, I don't think D1 would be the right fit for me. But if I was up at D1, it would be a disservice to my team if I kept it in one area. So, like, I played with girls from Hungary in college, and there's Italians on my team now. So they recruit even 4 and 2. But at the D2 and D3 level in the MIAC and in the NSIC, which is the D2 conference for in Minnesota mostly, you see almost all Minnesota girls because Minnesota is actually a hotbed for volleyball. It's Minnesota, Texas, and California are probably the 3 best states in the country for volleyball. So, of course, if someone's interested from out of state, I'm going to look at them, give them a chance, recruit them. But there's a lot of talent right in our backyard. So we can see everything we want just up the road in the metro or across the border in Wisconsin. But yeah, there's a lot of great volleyball here. So right now, me and Coach Keeker like to keep it in the metro and around Rochester because there's a lot of really good high school volleyball clubs there.
Yeah, and let's bring it back to St. Mary's again. You brought in 9 freshmen this year. Obviously, that's a pace that's pretty hard to keep up when you're coaching a volleyball team. What are you shooting for? Obviously, the more the merrier. But what are you shooting for to bring in as a class next season?
I think around 4. We need to fill in the big shoes that are DJ and Grace.
Huh.
So yeah, we're looking at back row players a lot. We have one committed already from the Eau Claire area, who is DS Libero. We're really excited about her, but we're looking at 4, 1 middle, and then 3 back row players.
Wow, it's so crazy. Especially, I've been talking to track coaches recently a lot more, and getting to know their recruiting process, where it's basically bring in as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Volleyball and basketball and maybe even soccer to an extent, you can't do that. So how do you balance well, we need this number of players, but they also need to be good? How does that kind of negotiation process work with all these recruits?
So breaking it down, since we're a smaller school, and our team, we don't have a JV team here, we get to be pretty selective with who we bring in and who we want a part of our program. Volleyball has notoriously been a great team on campus. We always have the highest GPA, so we have to look at that too, just to keep up our notoriety. 1, 2, respectful. Will they fit in the team and gel well with them? So I need to look at that when I'm seeing recruits. But yeah, we get to be picky because we like to keep our roster at or around 20. So, filling in, we have depth charts of the next 4 years. What are my outsides like and when are they graduating? So I can know 3 years from now how many people I'll need in that position. So like we have it booked out a few years for recruiting, who I'm going to need and how I'm going to get them. Now at the bigger schools like Gustavus or St. Thomas, they have JV teams. So anyone who wants to play volleyball, they're like, yes, the more the merrier. And we can train them up so their junior and senior years, they'll be ready to play on their first team.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. I didn't really know that, but we are coming to the end of the interview here. Time has flown because you are so informative. 1-1 in conference so far. You have every game left on the schedule as a conference game, except a little bit of a break, if you can call it that, against La Crosse. To make the playoffs, what are we thinking here? These last conference games, really.
Yeah, so top 6 make it to playoffs for us. In my opinion, I think Augsburg and Bethel are going to be 1 and 2. I don't know which order in our conference this year. So a win against Bethel would be phenomenal. They're a fantastic team this year. But if we could stay with and knock out about half of those teams in the middle with us, which I believe we're in the middle to upper of the pack, if we do what we need to do, I think we have a good shot, which will be exciting. Because last year, I think we had a shot at making playoffs, but that wasn't a thing. Due to COVID. Year before we were team 7. So that was a bummer. So hopefully this year we're right in there, but it's just about getting everyone and keeping everyone healthy and then kind of staying on track for the rest of the year.
And that reminds me, 2 years ago, you guys beat a couple of ranked opponents, and we've heard why you guys think you've won those is because you had the confidence to you could hang with those teams. But you didn't even make the playoffs. And I've heard that maybe because you played down to competition. So how can you prevent that? How can you keep that even keel and say, hey, we can play with these guys and we can beat them no matter what?
I watched your interviews with Grace and DJ, and they're like, we like to think we're underdogs, so we play well against good teams.
Yeah.
Like you said, confidence in women's athletics, I found, has always been an issue. So keeping and maintaining confidence against teams we know we can beat will be our number one key to victory, I think. So just instilling that, which is difficult on a young team too, because I haven't been here a whole lot. So I think if we can get their confidence up as we go into this big conference stretch of games, and La Crosse isn't a break, you're right, they're a phenomenal volleyball team. But if we can get our confidence up here, I think we have a really good shot at it.
Awesome. Well, hey, good luck, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.